Hi everyone, I want to share this video with you. It's very interesting about how the guy deals with this woman. You will see what it's about. They may have a protest, protesting coal exports, and he makes an amazing point. So rather than focusing on something that will be less interesting for people, he finds an angle that is really resonating with what the ethos in our society, which is pay your fair share and societal or country-like ownership of something. So when it comes to ownership between individuals, we have different point of views. But when it comes to ownership of a country, of their own resources, the point of view are much easier to understand, especially because it's cold and it gets exported abroad. I think it's much easier for anyone to agree with his perspective. And he does very well in this debate because he focused on only one thingy, his own point, and he keeps insisting on that. And you see how the woman becomes irritated. So she will never say you're right, of course. I don't think she thinks she's right, but also she's there to do a job, which is sell a certain narrative. But he opposes her at every turn, and he really irritates her because she cannot find a way to break through him and to use the usual talk point that she's given. So let's listen to it. I think I'm not going to comment all that much, but let's see.
Well, New South Wales Police have arrested 170 climate activists who blockaded one of the world's largest coal ports in Newcastle. Joining me now is one of the protesters from Rising Tide, Zack Schofield. Zack, thanks so much for your time. What is the intention with all of this? What are you actually trying to achieve?
So thank you for having me here. And look, I want to get a message across loud and clear. We are not trying to shut down the industry overnight. Yeah, we've demanded an end to new coal and gas expansions because we are in a climate crisis, right? And the government was elected on a climate mandate. And there's a very simple fix here, which is to stop expanding an industry which contributes to climate breakdown. But beyond that, I'm a Newcastle boy, right? The Hunter region is a really important place in the New South Wales economy. It contributes a lot. But the coal corporations, these multinational corporations like Glencore, don't get taxed appropriately. So we're also calling for a 78% tax on coal exports to fund.
But blockading this, Jack, you've got to understand that puts jobs at risk. And what about the cost?
Okay, so you see this extremely condescending way of saying, you gotta understand, you silly little environment caring person. But he has already set up his perspective. He talks about not expanding coal, and he says, okay, the government has been elected for that. This all makes a lot of sense. But there's a tax problem. No, let's shift from there. This important is already in people's mind, but that's not going to be the main point of view of his the main point he brings forward.
Cost of living crisis where, older Australians in particular can't afford to put their heaters on at night. They're, turning lights off, doing that kind of thing. I mean, what's the priority?
I totally understand. We are in a cost of living crisis, and it's everyday Australians who are bearing the brunt, not the multinational corporations who get away with, coal royalties in New South Wales average 8 to 12%. That's far less than all of your listeners are paying on their income tax.
Sure,
right?
But you understand it does fund the budget. It does.
Sure.
So he did very well. He says he's a putting point. What about they're doing jobs? People desperately need jobs. Without these people creating jobs, life will not be possible. And he says, no, well, stick to your own point. They pay a lot of money. They are making a lot of money. They are making humongous amount of money, and we need to pay back what's fair for the people. Now, again, bringing back to the taxation part of his argument.
It's not hypothecated spending, it goes into the federal budget.
It could fund the budget much more, right?
Okay.
Norway taxes its oil exports at 78%. That goes into a sovereign wealth fund that's worth over 2 trillion Australian dollars. They fund all of their social programs off it.
Sure.
So when people are doing it tough at home, we need to understand there are multinational corporations that are getting away scot-free.
Well,
he's very good at doing that. No, she brought up, okay, they are, but they're also finding the budget, and it's like, yeah, but they're not doing nearly enough what they actually could do. And let's take an example, not again, not going to communist country, but a very well-respected country. It's a high-level country. And so I give you the example of this high-level country and what they're doing and how they're actually benefiting out of it. And I think we'll have, like I say, also, yeah, it's not going to break these companies because they're making such a humongous margin that they can't afford it.
Well, Zack, do you understand that this blockade at the weekend, it really divides people? Because not only did people need to be rescued, and I know publicity is part of the aim here, but it seems counterproductive. You're getting a lot of people offside for a goal. You said you want these multinationals to pay more tax and no coal and gas. Some of this is a little bit hypocritical.
I don't believe so at all. And I think most folks, well, apparently, not everyone, and I understand there may be listeners who are getting offside because of our actions, but we do live in a democracy, right? Protest is an important part of that. But at the end of the day, people were being safe on the water. The police are claiming that they had to rescue folks. I watched police rip kayak paddles away from kayakers and then tow them to shore under the pretense that they couldn't control their own vessels. So let's be very careful about trusting the word of the government and the police just at face value. They lie all the time. Governments don't follow on their word.
Who's lying?
And that's actually why we're protesting. Our government was elected on a climate mandate and they've approved 28 new coal and gas projects. They've also said that they'll fund transition, but the Hunter region gets back less than 2% of the coal royalties that we create in our own communities to fund transition.
I mean, these resources belong to all Australians. You do understand that telling people you're essentially...
Okay, let's go back. So you see also he's super calm. He has his demeanor, the way he speaks. He speaks slowly. He still talks about things that actually resonate with people, like not trusting the government is actually a very, I may need to make another video about it, a very democratic things to do. It's very spontaneous in the nature of democracy to not trust the government, ironically. And then he keeps focus on, he's very calmly saying, it's not true, you should not trust the police should not trust the government, at least everything they're saying. And the reason is because of this is what the government was saying. So there's a very strong self-consistency. And you also see he's not condescending towards anybody. He's not angry. He's not demanding. That's something that the woman is doing. The woman is condescending towards him. It's like, you silly little climate guy, like, you're just stupid, But he's very calm. He speaks calmly. He's polite. And he brings one very clear, self-consistent forward. The government is not making somebody pay. The very people are making way too much money. That money can actually help our society do better without actually hurting others. So there's only a win-win for society to take this money from them. And the fact all these things that you're bringing me is not actually true. And it's really funny. They show the boats here. It's like, this is super calm, people are super chill. Where is anybody in danger? It's just, I don't know if the editor want to mess with this woman because this seems super chill. It don't seem dangerous people or people in danger. Anyway.
Just to support your cause.
Not at all. No. Solar.
Any new coal and gas that they're going to have to pay maybe double or triple on their electricity bill. Resources belong to people without any new coal and gas that belong to all Australians. You do understand that telling people, you're essentially saying to people without any new coal and gas that they're going to have to pay maybe double or triple on their electricity bill just to support your cause.
Not at all. No. Solar and wind power is far cheaper.
No, it's not.
Hunters.
It's actually not. Not right now, it's not.
Well, it very much will be. China is rapidly decarbonising, right? Korea, Japan, these are our main export trading partners, and they are rapidly choosing to move to domestic energy production through renewables or domestic coal production. They are. And so the Port of Newcastle actually says that the coal export market could collapse within the next 10 years. So what do we tell Hunter workers? What do we tell people in Singleton and Muswellbrook when their own port says that the export industry will collapse in 10 years? Are we going to fund those communities to transition to...
And it's fantastic that he actually brought, this danger is going to happen, highly likely it's going to happen. there's a danger. How are we going to support them? And so again, bringing back, if we pay taxes, more taxes for this coal, we actually can take other solutions and going to protect the working people in the future. And so it's a very good, very self-consistent argument. And he delivers very well. And you can see how the woman just keeps losing her patience. So this really, for the viewer, will make you tend to side with the guy. Of course, if you hate what the guy is saying, you're not going to do it. But if you're kind of, then this is a very good non-verbal way of attracting, of winning an argument.
Alternate industries, I think we should. Do you?
It's hard to know where to start with that answer first.
Are we going to fund those communities to transition to alternate industries? I think we should. Do you?
And that's fantastic. This is such an amazing point. So it doesn't matter exactly what he asked, but like the fact that he actually led with a question, I made a video about that. Questions drive conversations. So he basically is taking control of this conversation. And the fact that she doesn't, I'm not going to answer about that. It's like, okay, so what is your turn to speak? So it's an amazing interview.
It's hard to know where to start with that answer for a start, because I don't want to buy into some mistruths. And look, it's not just by you, it's by members of the government as well, who keep on repeating this line that renewables are cheaper. They're just not at the moment. And they might not be for many decades.
I think the coal and gas industry have bought out a lot of politicians, and there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of money in these really powerful energy companies.
Who?
There's a lot of interest in these powerful energy companies. Who have they bought?
I mean, that's a big claim, Zach.
We've seen, well, they pay...
That was a mistake. Here he made a mistake. So what this, and I claim so far was like everything was super consistent. It was a mistake he made.
Millions and millions of dollars in donations. We've seen we've seen politicians go into cushy energy corporation jobs.
The Greens are the ones that accept these enormous donations as well.
No, they don't. They don't accept any corporate donations. That's on their policy website. You can see exactly who donates to them. So no. Let me just make it very clear. The coal and gas corporations are one of the most powerful business interests in the country. They do not care about workers. They do not care about communities. They care about their own profits.
Well, they're one of the biggest employers as well. They're one of the biggest employers, and they're a massive contributor to our federal budget and our well-being. If they stop doing business tomorrow, Zach, if they stop doing business and you got your wish, what do you think would happen to the lights?
Well,
what do you think would happen to industry? What do you think would happen to our quality of life?
Sure, you've mischaracterised me, because I've explicitly said, the first thing I said when I came on here was that we don't want to shut down the industry overnight.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real shame that folks choose to lie about our intentions to undermine us.
That's fantastic, because she didn't manage to push on this point where he kind of let himself open to attack with this taking bribes and these claims, because although I'm sure they're very true, it's very hard to prove, very hard to argue on that, and people won't necessarily be impacted that much. But she went into, okay, you're lying, and that's a personal attack, and he already said that. So now you are really mischaracterizing him, and you give him, first of all, a chance to say what he wants to do again, but at the same time, it's proving her that she doesn't have anything meaningful to say. She doesn't have anything meaningful to argue, because he has been able to confront and very well push back on all the usual arguments, constructed arguments they use.
Explicitly said, we want an end to new projects.
But by blockading what you did on the weekend, it wasn't supported by police. There's been 170 arrests. So if your intention is to not shut down the coal and gas industry overnight, what are you doing? I mean, because you're putting jobs at risk.
No, we're not putting jobs at risk. In fact, we are advocating for a tax on the corporations to fund.
But what about this coal that goes to places like India who need that for?
Oh my God, she's like such a so lost. Like, I mean, if you're the average Australian, how much do you care about the coal? The makes me laugh. The pro bono call, the benefit call, the charity call that goes to India.
For the poorest people in India.
So our major trading partners are China, Korea, and Japan.
He had laughed about on her face about this. It would have been amazing.
Are industrialized nations that are rapidly choosing.
China's still, got a rapidly growing middle class, pulling people out of poverty.
Absolutely. And they have a massive manufacturing industry. Your listeners might be interested to know that in the last year, China created over 6 times as much in energy generation capacity in solar power alone as Australia
still burning 56% of the world's coal.
Australia has ever created in its entire history.
China is still burning 56% of the world's coal. How do you reconcile that?
It's also the world's largest country. They are rapidly industrializing, and they choose to focus on domestic energy production, as any sovereign nation should. Now, we are in a situation where our export market is based on, it relies on the domestic policy of China, Japan, Korea. What happens when they choose to stop buying our coal? Because
we rely on it as well. We're still relying on coal right now.
So whenever they talk about China being the biggest polluter, which is true, we should also remember that who buys Chinese products? They don't just pollute for the sake of polluting or for the internal market. They pollute because we are buying these products. We have exported our pollution to those countries, to that country. So it's very hypocritical. Like, if you want, then do you want China to suddenly stop production of all the things that we need in order to survive in our country? Because tons and tons of things that are used in our country, that I will say, are made by China. Is that what you want? Anyway, that's what
60% burning every day.
And that's going to be changing. The port of Newcastle itself, the world's largest coal port, says that the coal export market will decline in the next 10 years. Yeah. What happens to our communities when that happens?
State governments are still, they need to prop it up because renewables aren't quite ready.
Well, I think
your protest is a little premature at best.
No, I don't think it is. And I think you understand, as well as all of your listeners understand, that we need to actively invest in the industries of the future. If we're not, then we are setting ourselves up for failure. Why wouldn't we want to invest in emerging energy production when that is the future that the world is heading to?
That is happening. It's all about the balance. But look, Zack, I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Okay, that's it. That was an amazing interview. If you got here, thanks for listening. I don't think anybody's here, and bye.